It's time to start our fall garden transformation. You guys, this is Nicole from My Carolina Garden. My garden is located in coastal North Carolina in growing zone 8B. So the transition from summer to fall, this gets me excited mostly because the temperatures are going to be a lot more glorious with less humidity, specifically in my area. I don't know about yours. That's the time I love. Now, here's the other major awesomeness for fall gardens. This is a wonderful time to plant new things. So I know for me, I have some pots of things along my front porch that have been sitting there waiting because I haven't wanted to put them in the ground while the weather was brutal. So I've left them there and now it's time to get going. Again, transformation time. Okay, so when we start talking about transforming our garden from one season to another, now we're talking about summer to fall. What does this mean to you? Well, one of the first things it means to me is being able to get brand new color introduced into my landscape. Things from summer got raggedy and tired and you know how it is when the flowers are expired, the color is less. So we want to add some new plant, new interest to the garden. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's talk about mums. Now the reason why we're going to talk about mums is because mums at a first glance can be generic or basic and boring, and maybe you don't love them. I don't particularly love regular style mums. But let's talk about some good things that come along with mums. First of all, mums don't just have to be that basic, boring, common variety that we see all the time. They don't. Here's a great example. Let me get a little bit closer because I love this mum. What are you? You are a demi pink garden mum. Now, why is this one, or how is this one different from others? Look at the yellow, sunshiny center of this flower. This had to get into my life because of the just cheerfulness of this plant. With fall comes, you know, by summer, a little bit of sadness, that type of thing. It also comes with pumpkin spice and different kinds of baking, but I know in the garden area or the garden realm, we can use as much cheer as we can get. So this type of mum with the yellow sunshiny center is an amazing choice. Let me show you another one. Okay, this one right here doesn't have much in bloom, so I just have to show you what is in bloom. So this one is called Vitamin Darling Pink Garden Mum. Vitamin Darling Pink. Okay, well that's interesting. Do you see the shape of this flower though? How it is unlike your standard basic boring mum? So guys, mums don't just have to be basic and boring. We have some other choices. Look around. That's one good thing. We can get some different varieties. We also know they come in different colors, all of that kind of stuff. But another great thing is they're not expensive, relatively speaking. I got this pot right here for $7. Each of those 3 pink sunshiny ones, also $7. That was just from a local nursery, whereas at Lowe's, I went to Lowe's today also, they're $8 for this size mum is about $8 if they don't come in a fancy container. Fancy container makes them more expensive. So for $7, you don't have to just have a basic mum. That's really cool. Now, another good thing is you can put these in your ground and allow them to be perennial for you. They don't just have to serve as flower arrangements or something like that. I am going to try to keep my mums because, hey, perennials, yeah, I love perennials. So awesomeness with some mums. I very recently made a video about some beautiful blooming flowers that we can put into our gardens in September and give us some of that fall color. So I'm not going into all of that here. You can find the link to that video below. But asters are another beautiful bit of color that you can add. And again, when you think of fall, mums probably are the first thing that comes to your mind, asters being the second. So I would have actually gotten more asters today, new ones in different colors if they had them, but they didn't. They only had the purple variety, so I didn't get any more. But asters are also decently inexpensive. Again, we're talking relatively speaking. If you're keeping these things as perennial, and why wouldn't you, because both mums and asters are cold hardy, then you get a lot of bang for your buck for the dollar amount that these plants are. So that part of it also makes me very happy. So besides adding more fresh color and maybe different style plants to your garden for the fall, what else do we think of? What else do we need to take care of when we're talking about transitioning from summer to fall? How about deadheading or cutting back some dead plants? So I have these brown stalks from tiger lilies, and then these stalks left from my stargazer lilies. These are not going to be staying in my fall garden because they are icky and ugly and I'm not interested. So all of this kind of stuff needs to be done. Never mind, you know, we're deadheading our coneflowers and our rudbeckia and all of that kind of stuff. So taking care of the dead plants in your garden, deadheading what is necessary, that is also part of the transition. Before I get too lost in the idea of other kinds of maintenance things or, you know, kind of the ucky things that we have to do in the garden for fall, I want to talk a little bit more about some of the color and interest that we can have. Now, this is not a new plant for me. This is a Bella Grande dahlia. Dahlias, not to get too much again into the flowering part of things, dahlias basically are perennial zone 8 and warmer, so I'm right on the line of where they're perennial. My point here is that this dahlia has been sitting in the ground so beautifully, waiting through all the summer heat and drought conditions and all the grossness, just to then pop out in the fall and look so wonderful and be like, hello, I've been sitting here the whole time, but now is when I'm really going to shine, right when you need me, right when you're looking for that extra color and interest. So it's not just the new stuff like the mums and the asters or whatever, but maybe it's something that's sitting there perennial for you that is adding that interest right at the right time. Okay, so let's get back into some garden care, some of the things we want to make sure that we're doing in this transition period. So we already talked about like cutting back dead plants and deadheading. My little phlox right here had to be deadheaded. I still have a little bit more trimming to do on him. Something else though, if you have irrigation or maybe you water by hand, make sure you're cutting down on the amount of water that you're putting out there, because our plants don't need as much now that the temperatures are getting cooler as they did over the summer. We had talked about, like, you know, fertilizing and watering and what I do to get my plants looking awesome. And I did say I have to water every single day in the summertime. Right now is a time period where things are really beginning to slow down. Now, my days, like right now today, it's in the 80s. It is not like it's so cool that I need to be wearing a jacket or anything. So I'm still watering, but the amount of water is going to be a lot less. So that's something to consider. And another thing, while we're here at my mulch flower bed, all of my beds are mulched. Mulch is a wonderful protector for your plant's roots. So that was something, again, we were making sure we did for the summer to make sure that the mulch was helping act as, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a sponge, but it helps to hold the moisture in when you water. So when the brutal heat and sun is coming out, like the mulch is helping to act as an insulator. That, I think, was the word I was going for. Same sort of deal here. We want to make sure that before a frost comes, the roots of our plants are very well insulated. Clearly, if we're spending money on our plants or we're taking care of our gardens, we don't want them to suffer, especially, you know, at a time when we're not with them all the time. So let's mulch our flower beds in whatever kind of mulch you use is absolutely great, but let's just care for our plants' roots. Now, in some of our gardening containers, like our plant pots and our arrangements and things like that, we might have summer annuals that need to get the heck out. And it's like, later petunias, don't let the frost hit you on the way out. But seriously, I don't have petunias. This is something I've talked about before. Petunias don't do well in my heat here. But for the most part, summer flowers, if we do have summer annuals, it's time to get those out of here and it's time to put some fresh things in. On the other hand, certain things like my blanket flowers over here, which I don't even know if I would consider them summer flowers because they bloom most of the year for me. I don't really have to do a thing with a bunch of flowers like that because they're gonna bloom all the way into the frost. So it's kind of a nice balance here in the South. We do get to enjoy certain things for a really long period of time. I guess this means I'm saying something nice about the blanket flowers right now because they really do last a long time. Just got to keep those babies deadheaded. Since I did install irrigation, it would really behoove me to put my mums in the ground. And so I'm pretty sure that that's what I'm going to do instead of just leaving these guys out in arrangements. I haven't decided exactly where they're going yet, but this year has been a massive year of travel for me. And most of the trips I've taken have been like decided on and planned on within like 2 weeks of me going somewhere. And it's happening again where I'm going to be going away yet again. So I don't want to have to worry about planting anything and then it not doing great because it can't be watered properly. So again, if you do have irrigation or something, really consider go ahead and put your fall plantings right into the ground. Now, something else that you may want to consider so that your future self thanks you is thinking about planting evergreens. So again, this is a wonderful time of year to plant. The weather is much more favorable for our plants to take. How about something like this gorgeous kaleidoscope abelia that is evergreen? The foliage changes color throughout the different seasons. It flowers. So many wonderful things to say about this kaleidoscope abelia, and I planted it last fall myself. I am not sorry at all. So doing something like that, again, that your future self is gonna thank you for, that's amazing, because when winter comes and you're looking around saying, oh man, I wish I had more color in my garden, maybe this is a great time to plant some evergreen shrubs. Another way that we could go about adding a fresh look to all of our plants and gardens is garden decor. Things like pumpkins and hay bales and rustic planters. All of that adds extra color, interest, dimension, all of that kind of stuff. Now for me, I will not be putting pumpkins into my landscape yet because it's still too hot and they rot way too quickly. But last year, I had an awesome time even just redesigning my front porch. I did a black and white look. I had black and white painted pumpkins and pots and all sorts of things. I really love the way that turned out, so I may do the same thing again this year. I haven't even decided that. But again, adding a little bit of garden decor or maybe thrifted items. Oh gosh, do you remember that blue wooden bench I showed you last year? I bought secondhand. I did have to refinish it. I stained it blue. But that's something else, like that came into my life right at the start of fall, and I was thrilled to find it because it actually served as a beautiful, like not centerpiece, but like display piece for my mums, my fall mums. So that was really cool too. So for me personally, I have way too many tropical plants to like totally transform my gardens from summer to fall. I maybe will introduce, some of the garden decor in there or change my fun lighting into something like a little more fall colors and things like that. But of course, I'm not touching any of my tropical plants that are in here that are perennial because that would just be crazy. So these are just some thoughts for how we can transform our garden from that summer look to a fall look. We're looking for things that are maybe cozy. We're looking for maybe creating little nooks. We're looking for maybe some color changes. Maybe it's just in our pots. Maybe it's not even in the actual plants. Things that could be easier for us. You know I am all about saving money and gardening on a budget and all of that kind of stuff, which means I am about repurposing my pots. I will repaint things if I don't have to go buy something new. And if I'm honest, I've largely had a lot of those very standard basic mums because they're even less expensive than the cooler different kinds of shades that you could get and stuff like that. So I get it. We also want to save money as we're transitioning our garden. There is nothing wrong with that. I feel you. Hopefully I've shed some light on some things that are new or helpful in some way. I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel so that you can keep getting my videos in your feed. That would be awesome. And maybe in the comment below, you can just like tell me something that you're doing that maybe is unique, an idea that I could share with people to say, hey, this is a great idea, a fall project or something like that. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, happy planting.